Have you ever heard of Tulipmania? It's the story of the world's first financial bubble, and it's a wild ride. If you think the stock market or cryptocurrency can be volatile, just wait until you hear about what happened with tulip bulbs in 17th century Netherlands. Hello and welcome to my channel. Are you ready to dive into the fascinating story of Tulipmania? This historical event, which took place in the Netherlands during the 17th century, is widely regarded as the world's first financial bubble. It's a fascinating and cautionary tale about the dangers of speculation, greed, and irrational exuberance. So, how did it all happen? Stick around as we take a deep dive into the emergence of Tulipmania, the boom and crash of the market, the causes behind it all, and the lessons we can learn from this historic event. Get ready to be amazed and, dare I say it, a little bit frightened by the power of human greed and the madness of crowds. Tulipmania occurred in the Netherlands in the 17th century and involved the trading of tulip bulbs. At the time, tulips were a new and exotic flower in Europe, and their vibrant colors and intricate patterns made them highly sought after. As demand grew, prices skyrocketed, and tulips became a symbol of wealth and status. But the tulip market eventually spiraled out of control, and prices reached absurd levels. In 1637, at the height of the bubble, a single bulb of the rare Semper Augustus variety sold for 10,000 guilders, the equivalent of a skilled worker's annual salary. This was an astronomical sum, especially considering that many people were buying and selling bulbs without ever actually seeing them. The inevitable crash of the tulip market had devastating consequences for investors, many of whom lost their life savings. It also had a lasting impact on the Dutch economy and led to increased government regulation of financial markets. So how did a market for something as simple as flower bulbs turn into a financial disaster? Well, let's set the scene. It's the early 1600s, and the Dutch economy is booming. The country is a major player in global trade, with a thriving shipping industry and a rapidly expanding middle class. And as the Dutch became increasingly wealthy, they developed a taste for luxury goods, including exotic spices, fine textiles, and tulips. That's right, tulips. These colorful flowers, which had been introduced to the Netherlands by the Ottoman Empire, quickly became a symbol of wealth and status. As demand for tulips grew, so did their price, and soon the flower trade had become a major industry. But it wasn't just the flowers themselves that were valuable, it was the bulbs. Tulip bulbs could be replanted to produce more flowers, and the most prized bulbs could fetch astronomical prices. In fact, some bulbs were so expensive that they were worth more than a house. As more and more people got in on the tulip trade, prices continued to rise, and a speculative frenzy took hold. People began buying and selling tulip bulbs in a frenzy of speculation, driving prices higher and higher, and thus, Tulipmania was born. As the tulip market exploded, so did the number of people investing in it, from all levels of society. The boom. During the height of Tulipmania, the tulip market was a frenzied and chaotic place. Prices for the most sought-after bulbs skyrocketed, and people from all walks of life were caught up in the speculation. Some investors made fortunes practically overnight, while others mortgaged their homes and sold their possessions in a desperate attempt to get in on the action. At its peak, the tulip market was the talk of the town, with people from all over the Netherlands flocking to Amsterdam to participate in the trade. Tulip brokers, who acted as middlemen between buyers and sellers, made huge profits off the commissions they charged. As the market grew more frenzied, trading became increasingly speculative. People began buying bulbs they had never even seen, based solely on rumors of their value. Prices for even the most common bulbs skyrocketed, and fortunes were made and lost in a matter of days. Despite warnings from some about the unsustainability of the tulip trade, the market continued to boom. People began using tulip bulbs as collateral for loans, and some even began trading futures contracts on the flowers, a practice that would be familiar to modern-day investors. The crash. By early 1637, cracks began to appear in the tulip market. Prices for bulbs started to stall, and some began to decline. Panicked investors tried to sell their bulbs before prices dropped too much, but soon there were more sellers than buyers. This led to a sudden and catastrophic crash in the market. Prices for even the most valuable bulbs plummeted, leaving many investors with worthless assets. Some people who had borrowed money to invest in tulips were left destitute, unable to repay their debts. The Dutch economy, which had become increasingly dependent on the tulip trade, was badly shaken by the crash. In the aftermath of the crash, many investors were left questioning how such a thing could have happened. Some blamed the greed of tulip brokers, who had encouraged the speculation in the market. Others pointed to the lack of regulation and oversight in the trade. But regardless of the cause, Tulipmania had left a lasting impact on the Dutch economy and the world of finance. It was the first recorded financial bubble, and it would not be the last. Over the centuries, countless other bubbles have emerged and burst, leaving investors and economies reeling in their wake. Causes of Tulipmania. The causes of Tulipmania are still a matter of debate among historians and economists. Some believe that the boom was simply a case of irrational exuberance, driven by speculation and a desire for quick profits. Others argue that the tulip trade was fueled by a broader economic boom in the Netherlands, as the country became a global trading powerhouse. One popular theory is that Tulipmania was driven by a classic economic principle: supply and demand. At the time, tulips were a relatively new commodity in the Netherlands, and their popularity was growing rapidly. As demand for bulbs increased, prices began to rise, and investors saw an opportunity to make a profit. Another theory is that the tulip trade was driven by social and cultural factors. In the 17th century, tulips were seen as a status symbol among the wealthy and influential. Collecting rare and exotic bulbs became a popular pastime, and the trade in tulips became a way to show off one's wealth and taste. Regardless of the causes, one thing is clear: Tulipmania serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of speculative bubbles and the need for responsible regulation and oversight in financial markets. Lessons learned. The lessons learned from Tulipmania are still relevant today. First and foremost, the episode highlights the danger of speculative bubbles and the need for responsible regulation in financial markets. The Dutch government eventually stepped in to try to stabilize prices, but it was too little, too late. Investors had already lost faith in the market, and prices plummeted. Second, Tulipmania demonstrates the importance of diversification in investing. Many of the investors who lost everything in the crash had put all their eggs in one basket, betting on the tulip trade to make them rich. Today, financial advisors often recommend spreading investments across different asset classes and industries to minimize risk. Finally, Tulipmania is a reminder that human behavior is often driven by emotion rather than rationality. The allure of quick profits and the desire to keep up with social trends can lead people to make irrational decisions. As investors, it's important to remain grounded and make decisions based on careful research and analysis, rather than the whims of the market or our own emotions. Overall, Tulipmania serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked speculation and the importance of responsible investing practices. And that's the story of Tulipmania. Thanks for joining me on this journey back in time to one of the craziest financial events in history. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like it, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for future updates. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below. Thanks for watching.